Hello once again. Today we're going to take a look at Tiger Woods with his driver and with his pitching wedge swing. Now, a lot's been written in the past about how you have to make a different swing with the irons versus the woods. Now, of course, there are some differences. First of all, the club shaft is much longer with the driver, so you're going to stand further from the ball. You're going to have the ball teed up. Your posture is going to be a little more upright from the down the line view with the driver because the shaft angle itself is flatter. And with a pitching wedge with a more upright shaft angle, your spine angle would be tilted more forward. The ball position is going to be played more in the centre with the wedge and more forward with the driver. And finally, also you'll see Tiger's stance is a little wider with the driver than it is with the iron. Now, the swing on the right, he's using a wedge of some sort. It's not even a full swing, so it's probably a 100-yard shot with the sand arm, which is not a full swing for Tiger. And the driver swing on the left, probably nearer to 300 yards. Now, the thing I should point out with the camera on the left is the camera angle appears to be a little bit back. So that line that's drawn up from the golf ball looks like his ball is played up way up on his front foot. That's really not the case. The camera is just positioned a little bit too far to the left, and that line there is just to indicate more to do with the starting position of the hands. So it's not indicating the ball position. The ball position would be played just inside of his left heel. So due to the angle of the camera, a little bit off with the camera angle, but that's basically where the ball would be positioned right there. Now I want this video to focus on what's happening as he comes down to hit the golf ball. So let's just run through this to the top of the swing. See the swing a little longer with the driver, as you'd expect. As I said earlier, this is not really a full swing on the right with Tiger's wedge. As Tiger's coming down to approach the ball, this position here we'll look at first, where the left arm is parallel with the ground. We'll see that the club shaft is still basically vertical from the front camera point up this way. And with the driver, let's see where he is with that very athletic move into the left side. Now, Tiger's created a little bit more lag with the driver. So you see they've both got pretty good angle. The driver's got a little more than the one on the left, than the one on the right. Now as we come down a little further, the next place we want to look at is when the club shaft is parallel to the ground. And the reason we use these positions is because they're just easy to explain using the video camera, and easy to compare the same moment of the swing. So right here, you see both of these swings, club shaft parallel with the ground, right there. Now, I want you to note where the hands are positioned. In both these examples, Tiger's hands are well inside the middle of his back leg. With here, it's basically right in front of his back leg. So he's actually got a bit more lag as he approaches into the ball. Now, I'm sure many of you have been told you've got to hit up on the ball with your driver and launch the ball high and not backspin the ball too much. When we look at the impact position with the iron, you'll notice here as his hands are going past the golf ball, right there, as his hands are going past the golf ball, the club shaft and the club head is still trailing behind his hands. Now most people think you wouldn't do that with your driver. Your hands should be behind the ball and you're going to hit up on the ball. Now in reality, you'll notice that Tiger's hands have actually got into the middle of his body, right there. The club head is still some distance from the ball, and even with the driver, he's able to get the hands up above the ball, even slightly past the ball, and the club head is still coming in behind. Now, I've said to you in earlier swings or earlier videos, if the shaft is leaning this way, the club head is still descending down. That's obvious with the iron because you're going to go into the ground and make a divot in front of the golf ball. But a very similar thing here happens. Now, because the ball is played more forward, what's going to happen is the club is going to be travelling down perhaps very little or almost at the bottom of the arc. So we're not really hitting down on the ball as such. We're just allowing the club shaft to sort of catch up and straighten up at impact right there. So you'll see he's got a very vertical shaft. The hands are well forward in his body, almost in front of his left leg. The club shaft is vertical, so he's not hitting up on the ball or down on the ball. He's catching this thing at the very bottom of his swing arc. A lot of people misunderstand that. They think with the driver there's a different swing. You've got to have the hands behind the ball and hit up on the ball. That's simply not true. And just finally, before we finish, you can notice as he's coming down, approaching down to the golf ball at this point right here, right, we'll notice Tiger's hands are there. His club head is still way back here, and in the time that his club head reaches to the ball, his hands have only travelled this much distance, that much, whereas the club head, which is now down here, has travelled a much greater distance down to there in the same time. So of course the club head is travelling much faster than his hands and arms, and that allows the club shaft to sort of catch up, so it comes in trailing behind the left lead arm, and the shaft and club head are sort of catching up, and the timing here is perfect. It catches up right on the golf ball, so he's hitting the ball on the bottom of the swing arc. He doesn't have as much lean on his shaft at impact, but he comes into the ball with the same amount of lean. Right here you'll see that basically the driver has got very similar amount of lean on it as the iron. It's just that the ball is played a little more forward in the stance, so the club head's going to have that fraction of a second longer to catch up and straighten out a little bit. Notice in the body position, very similar. You know, the head is behind the ball, the weight's on the left side. So really the swing is very similar for all of your clubs, fast or slow, woods or irons. A little bit of a difference with the stance and the ball position, but not as much different as you might think.